All right, welcome to episode 20 of Life is Horror. This episode will be my top 20 favorite horror movies of 2020 and some mini reviews for the much talked about A24 horror film Talk to Me, and also Unwelcome, and that's it. So, yeah, I'll talk about those two movies in my top 20 favorite horror movies of 2020 because for some reason back in 2020. I skipped that year. At the end of the year, I usually do end of year rankings. I did one for 2018, did one for 2019, did one for 2021. I just skipped 2020. I guess I just wanted to forget that year ever existed. So I never made a ranking list at the end of that year. So now I'm going to do it now for the first time. And I'm not going to talk much about these movies. I'm just going to list them, maybe read a synopsis, let you know what they're about, and get through this as quickly as possible. I don't want this video to be as long as the other ones. So yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since I last recorded, and it's been an eventful couple of weeks. Did some traveling, and I went to Camp Crystal Lake, the real Camp Crystal Lake, for the first time. Did the whole Camp Nobi Bosco tour, and you get to actually watch Friday the 13th on like a drive-in screen type thing. Not really, but like a big projector, like it was like a big screen, and it felt like you're at the drive-in because I'm just laying in the grass. And so yeah, it was pretty fun. And so I'll talk about that instead of horror movie news. I usually talk about, this is the part where I say this movie's coming out in this, and it's usually a sequel or a remake, but who gives a shit? All right, so instead let's just talk about my trip. So very briefly, I'm sure I don't want to bore you guys too much with this story, but yeah, I went to New Jersey. I've been planning this since January when the tickets went on sale. Said, fuck it, why not? Bought some tickets, went to New Jersey, and then coincidentally enough, I'm not usually this lucky, but I found out that like 20 minutes from the airport the day I was leaving, and I had all day to kill because, I had to check out my hotel in the morning, and then my flight was at like 8 or 9 p.m. So I'm like, I got all day, nowhere to be. What am I going to do? All of a sudden, I find out there's a horror convention that day. So I was like, holy shit, lucky me. So I got to go to my very first horror convention after visiting the Friday the 13th locations. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, I went to Camp Crystal Lake. I went there. It's like $150 plus. Depends what package you get. Some of them they're different. Each one, some have the movie, some don't. Some you can actually like camp overnight there. I haven't done that one, but maybe in the future I'll do that. They give you a little thing to wear around your neck, separate into groups, and it's like a 5 hour thing, 5:30 to like 10:30. And the workers there are really nice. They kind of reminded me of like the workers at like Universal Studios. They're like actors, but these people weren't acting. Like they seemed like they were genuinely nice people, but just their energy. That's what it kind of reminded me of. They had a lot of energy. You know, they weren't like talking to you like they're saying the same shit 1,000 times. Because they do other tours, so it's like they're reading off of paper. They're asking like trivia facts and shit, but they weren't doing it in a way that it seemed like they didn't care. Like it didn't seem like it was just a job. Like they actually seemed like they cared and they were fans also of Friday the 13th. So I like the energy that the workers had, and they were fun, and they were asking trivia questions as we were walking around the camp, and I was like the only person answering the questions. They're like, so who dies in this cabin? And I'm like, Kevin Bacon. And, I was like the only one that was answering. I don't know if anyone else just didn't know or they were too shy to speak up, but I was like the nerd. Like, I know. Um, and that surprised me. I thought everybody was going to know every answer. Like, all the questions they were asking is like all the answers were in like Crystal Lake memories. And they were talking about the decapitation scene, the toothpicks. And I'm like, yeah, I already know. But so I kind of felt like a know it all. But, and so then you go to the lake and they have like this thing set up. Again, it reminded me of Universal Studios. Like when you go on the Jaws ride, they have all those things set up to explode. And, this wasn't quite that big, but they had this thing set up in the lake where it would start to bubble in the middle of the lake where the canoe was. So it seemed like, the ghost of boy Jason was going to come out of the lake or something. So that was kind of funny. I wasn't expecting that at all. And they would have us all yell Jason's name out loud, and they didn't let us take videos. We weren't allowed to take videos, so I took a bunch of pictures. And yeah, so some of they had a lot of replicas there of like the cars and stuff, so they weren't like the actual cars from the movie. Those are long gone. But in the shower house in the movie was actually built for the movie, and they rebuilt it at the camp and made it look as close to the film as possible. And so yeah, it was. They even had like a fake rubber snake from the movie, although that was a real snake that they killed for real in the movie. So yeah, it was just fun. It was really neat walking around, and then we get to watch the movie, and that was fun. Although I was uncomfortable, I didn't bring a chair with me because I had to go to the airport. I couldn't bring a lot of shit with me back, so I packed very small, and I packed just like a blanket to sit on. So my ass was uncomfortable. Unfortunately, I didn't have the best experience watching Friday the 13th for the millionth time at Camp Crystal Lake. My ass was quite sore by the end of it. So yeah, next time I'll bring a chair if I ever go again. So bring a chair, don't bring a blanket like me. You will regret it. And then for some reason, it got really fucking cold. So by the time that movie was over, my teeth were chattering on the way back to my car. And it's like this place is out in the middle of nowhere. There is no cell phone service, no signal, nothing. Like my GPS, I was lost for a while leaving that place, just driving for miles in the opposite direction, just waiting for my GPS to find me. And yeah, and then they gave me. I mean, they have like a shop there with all kinds of things to buy, and you can take a Polaroid or get an 8x10. I got a Polaroid picture of me next to the Camp Crystal Lake sign. I'm sure it's a replica, but it looks identical to the sign in the movie, so that's cool for $15. They make it look like it's a Polaroid taken in 1980, and it says Camp Crystal Lake 1980. For $15, you can get a Polaroid, and then you can buy a little bottle, and you can collect the water in the lake. So this is actually water from Camp Crystal Lake that I collected. Just enough. It's just a small amount that I'm allowed to take on the airplane. So just a couple ounces. And they gave me this for free. I think this was free. A cup holder thing. You put this around your cup. I got myself a Crystal Lake beanie because I'm a hat guy, and got myself a big old Camp Crystal Lake cup here also. And yeah, and then they also gave us a map of the other filming locations in the movie, like the gas pump that Annie walks to, and where she gets picked up, where Jack and Marcy are driving. It tells you where they all are in case you want to visit the filming locations in Blairstown and Hope, New Jersey. But I had already visited those locations before I went to Camp Novi Bosco. And yeah, it looks pretty much the same. Maybe it's different color paint on a couple of buildings, but that downtown street looks almost the same as it did when Annie was walking down that street in the movie. So that was pretty neat to see. So yeah, then I went to the horror convention on Saturday, and I met the cast of Fright Night and the cast of Friday the 13th, the remake, and Part 5 were there. And there was Mick Garris, and there was a panel for the people under the stairs. Eric Roberts was there, and I went through all my money pretty quickly getting signatures and photographs with these people. And they had a big area to shop for shit, but because, like I said, I had to go on a plane, so I couldn't buy anything to take with me. I had to, my bag was already packed enough. So yeah, and I got a bunch of signatures, so I guess I can show you guys that stuff. Yeah. I gotta wait for this camera to focus again. Give it about 12 hours, it'll get there. Focus, come on. Gee, this camera is really slow at focusing. So yeah, I met Sean Whalen from a lot of horror movies. Got a picture of him from Hatchet 3. And I talked to him about Drive Thru. He played a creepy janitor in that movie. That was the first time I ever saw him. So I just I didn't have anything prepared. So when I went up to these guys, I had to like think of what to say to them, like in the spot, like I loved you in this movie, and so yeah, it was really hard to come up with shit to say. But with him, I just started talking to him about drive through. He was talking about how drive through was supposed to be called something else, and then I was talking to him about his character in that movie, and like, did he die or did he kill himself? Because you see him hanging in the bathroom, and he said that he believes Horny the Clown, quote and I quote, fucked him up. And yeah, I had him sign it Mr. Hat because, that's my name. And it says to Mr. Hat, aka, or, Luke, Mr. Hat, aka, and Jason, no, not Jason, Crowley lives, Steve Whalen. And then I met Shavar Ross from Friday the 13th, Part 5. And then I had him write the quote, "Man, you one scared cat." And then he wrote Mr. Hat below that. And yeah, he was pretty cool. And he's shorter than me. I'm a pretty short dude. And he's shorter than me. Then I met Mike Norris, aka Chris Sarandon, and had him sign Child's Play. And yeah, to Luke. And then he signed it. He even signed it Mike Norris and wrote the one quote I could think of because I paid for a quote, but I'm like, what does he say in Child's Play? And the only thing I could think of was that scene where he's like, "Because I'm sane, Mrs. Barkley." So I just had him write, "Because I'm sane, Luke." So I tried to just make them write my name however I could. I would take a quote from the movie and just insert my name in there. And then I met what's his name, Paul D'Angelo from Sleepaway Camp. Felissa Rose was not there, unfortunately. I really would have liked to meet her. And I only paid for a selfie with what's his character's name? Ronnie? I think it's Ronnie. Counselor Ronnie from Sleepaway Camp, the big buff dude in Sleepaway Camp. Um, yeah, I met him. I paid for an autograph. No, wait, no, a selfie. I paid for a selfie. And then when I told him how far I traveled to be there, I guess he felt bad. He was like, "Oh man, you deserve more." So he gave me a picture of him back when he was all buff. And then he signed it, gave me a signature and a free picture. Free signature, free picture, just because of how far I traveled. And he wrote, "To Luke, how can it be? She's a boy. Ronnie, Sleepaway Camp." And then I met Stephen Jeffries from Fright Night. And of course, I took his famous quote and I inserted my name in there. He wrote, "You're so cool, Luke. Stephen Jeffries, Evil Ed." And I talked to him about the only thing I could think of, because I've only seen Fright Night a couple of times, so I was like, shit, what do I say? So I was like, "Oh, what was it like wearing all that makeup?" Because the werewolf transformation and the look he gave me and what he said, like, you could tell he did not like wearing all that makeup. But yeah, he was like, "Yeah, that was me in the makeup the whole time," and he hated it. So yeah, then I met two actors from the. Oh yeah, I met Tiffany Helm. I didn't get a picture or an autograph from Tiffany Helm. I just paid for a selfie with Tiffany. She plays Violet in Friday the 13th Part 5. She's the one that does that dance to that song by Pseudo Echo. Gets the lame kill, stabbed in the stomach, and I talked to her about her alternate death because I was curious if they actually did shoot it. I couldn't remember if they did or not, and she said no, they didn't. But you can see pictures of her with a bloody crotch, so I was just like, I wanted to talk to her about that. I was like, did they actually do that? And nope, they did not. They did not shoot her alternate death. And even if they did, that movie was so hacked by the MPAA, it wouldn't have mattered. We never would have seen it. Uh, all right, so let's wait for this camera to focus again. 12 hours from now. Oh, there it is. That was quicker. All right. So I met two actors from the Friday the 13th remake, and they were actually the first people I went up to. And I got this 11 by 17 signed by the two people from the opening of the film. I forget their character's name. I don't even know how to say her name. It says her name's America, or I'm sure it's pronounced something different. I don't know, but it's spelled America. Olivio, I think that's the actress's name. I don't even know her name in the movie. Amanda. Okay, yeah, it says right there. Amanda. So I met Amanda from Friday the 13th, the remake, and Wade, who was also in Live Free or Die Hard. He was the first one I met. And, I didn't know how these places worked, so I was like a lost puppy at this place. Like, I see all these tables, like, I got there right when they opened, and, like, I see these celebrities, they're at their tables, and there's no one in line. So my brain instantly thinks, well, then they're not open. So I'm like staring at them from across the room, like, can I walk up to them? Or are they like, because I'm like, there's no way there's no line. I'm not that lucky because I went in there expecting to wait like 40 minutes to an hour for everybody. But it was like instant, just go, go, go. Like within the first 45 minutes, I took pictures and got selfies and like it got autographs for over a half a dozen people. I did not expect it to be that quick. So, but yeah, I was just kind of like staring at them like a creep from across the room, like just debating, like, do I walk over there or they have to be closed? There's no way that there's just no one in line. But then I just walked up, like, am I allowed to like be here? And they're like, are you signing shit? Like, there's no one here. But yeah, they're like, yeah, we're open. So and yeah, I got a signature and a picture with Wade, and I couldn't think of anything to ask him. I mean, he was the first one. I was a little awestruck. I was like, I don't know what to say. So I just told him that I'm one of the few weirdos out there that like the remake more than the original. And he was like, that's awesome. And we shook hands, and then I met uh, the the big tit lady. I keep blanking on her name. Amanda. Amanda. So I met her, and then she gave me a quote, and I couldn't think of anything she said. She was like, "What quote do you want?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What do you say in the movie?" So she instantly like got her phone out and was looking up her quotes. Like she already had it ready to go. And she was like, that's not what you said last night. And for the record, you'll never drink my piss. And I'm like, that one. So she signed it to Luke. For the record, you'll never drink my piss. But what's funny is it looks like she misspelled the word drink. It looks like she wrote Druik. That's what it looks like to me. I don't know. It looks like she fucked up. So she didn't even spell drink right. But that's okay. I don't care. So, yeah. So, yep. That was my first convention experience. And then I went to a couple of panels. And the Mick Garris panel. And he was talking about, his whole filmography. And the stand and just all kinds of stuff. But what was funny about his panel was at some point this woman in the back of the room was on her phone. She was like this big middle-aged woman on the floor, her back up against the wall, just talking on her phone out loud. And the speaker system wasn't that loud. And Mick Garris is kind of a soft-spoken dude, so it was already hard enough to hear him. And this chick's in the back of the room just talking full volume for like 5 minutes. And finally, Mick Garris at some point, I couldn't believe it took him that long. I was waiting for him to say something because there was one point where he did look at her. So I was like, okay, he knows. But then it took a few more minutes after that for him to be like, hey, lady, can you take that call outside the room? And he was actually really nice about it. I was expecting him to say something else, like, hey, lady, can you like get the fuck out of here? But he's not ill-tempered like me. If it was me, I'd probably say something I would regret later. But I just couldn't believe it. Like, who does that? Who goes, like, there's a celebrity speaking, we're all in there wanting to hear what he has to say, and you're just in the back of the room out loud talking on your phone, and you don't realize how loud you are? Like, how dumb can you be? So it was just funny hearing him like tell her to basically fuck off in a kind way. Like, hey, can you take your phone call outside? Like, who does that? You're a horrible person if you do that. But yeah, Ronnie from Sleepaway Camp, he did a panel. I attended that one. I went to the Fright Night panel, and they had like basically everybody that's alive in that movie there. And there was one point where Chris Sarandon broke down crying because of a question about Roddy. So yeah, that was heartbreaking. But so yeah, that was all I can remember now. I mean, it's been over a week since I went there, so yeah, it was an interesting experience. I look forward to doing that again. Hopefully, somewhere closer to me. And this time, I'll be more prepared. I'll come up with some questions because I didn't have anything prepared, so I just had to like think in the spot, like, what do I say to these people? So, but yeah, so that's all I gotta say. Let's get into these mini reviews. But first, let me take a drink. Man, it's been 20 minutes already. Shit. All right, I'm gonna try to get through this quick because I don't want this video to be that long. All right, the last few have been like 50 minutes. Let's try to keep this around 40, if that's possible. I doubt it, but let's do it. All right, so Talk to Me. So this is a new A24 film. It's Australian, and yeah, it's an Australian supernatural horror movie. That's a bit of a slow burn at first, but it's a bit of a slow burn after the opening, which is like one great long shot. I thought that opening was pretty cool. But then once they get the hand game out, it starts to pick up steam. And the performances are terrific, especially the lead actress. Haven't seen her in anything else. I've looked her up. She's only done a couple of other things, and I thought she was terrific in this. And, the characters actually have some depth. There's a lot of character development in this, and lots of dramatic acting that's top notch. And there's a couple of cool scene transitions, some cool shots, and some moments that were kind of reminiscent of Hereditary, especially when the kid's like banging his head against the desk. That reminded me of the scene in Hereditary with Alex Wolff banging his head again and again on the desk. So yeah, there's a lot of like head trauma in this movie, and those are probably going to be the scenes that stand out the most. Is those moments of violence, self-inflicting, violence. There's a lot of like people hurting themselves in this movie, and so I feel there's a lot of potential for a prequel at the end of this. There's a lot of unexplored stuff with the game itself, like a lot of unanswered questions that I have about the game and the rules and how they were established, how this hand came about. They go into it a little bit. They give you an explanation about like whose hand this was, and it's the hand of a medium, and if you hold it, you can talk to the dead. But it's like, I want more. Like, where did this thing come from? How do these people know exactly how long to hold the hand? And who the fuck would play this game in their right mind? Like, in this movie, apparently it's fun to be possessed, but that's terrifying. There's nothing more terrifying than losing control of your body. But but to these people, it's fucking awesome. They're like, yeah, let's do it again. And at one point in the movie, this one kid gets so humiliated when he's possessed. He leaves the party like he's never coming back. And then they cut to like a montage of the rest of the gang playing, which after what happened during that scene where that guy got humiliated, I'm surprised anyone kept playing, but they keep playing. There's like a montage of them playing. And during that montage, that guy who left, pissed off, like I'm never coming back, he's in the montage playing with them. Like, yeah, let's play again. Like, what? Unbelievable. Like, you do have to suspend a lot of disbelief for this movie. The fact that these kids are playing this game, the fact that it's like viral and everyone wants to play it more than once, and they want to see these spirits, and they're not normal looking spirits. We see some of them from time to time, and they're never pretty looking spirits. They're like deformed. They look like the leper and it. They look nasty. Like, why would you want to see that? It doesn't make any sense. I would never play this game in a million years. So that was just, I couldn't get past that. So yeah, that was just a stretch. And so the story with Mia's mom was kind of confusing, mysterious, and like, did she really kill herself? I don't know. And if so, why was she clawing at the door? And I thought they were going to reveal she played the game also. The ending was intense and fitting. I liked the way it wrapped up. I liked the new spin on the typical Ouija board possession movies. This to me felt like a fresh new take on those Ouija board movies. But instead of a Ouija board, we got this hand you grab and you get possessed. So it's a little fresh, but kind of familiar in a way, but just a little different. Different enough. So yeah, and the fashion in this movie, the hair, the clothing, it felt like it was in a different time period, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. I'm like, what year is it? Anybody else? I don't know, maybe it's just an Australian thing, like the way they are dressing, the hair. I was like, is it the 80s, 90s? Like, what the fuck's going on here? So yeah, what else? The accents made it hard to understand them. So yeah, watching this again with subtitles will probably help understand the plot a little bit more. So yeah, but great movie. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Really enjoy it, and I recommend checking it out. And I just realized I never had the poster up. How professional. There it is. There's the poster for Talk to Me. Now I can get rid of it. All right. I'll get the poster this time. Unwelcome. Let's talk about this movie. All right. Let's go from a great movie to a shitty movie. I did not like this one. All right, so let me scroll all the way down my list here and find it. this. That's how much I didn't like it. It's at the bottom of my rank. All right, here it is. So this is an Irish movie. So I guess that's the theme for this episode. We're going foreign, but still English. So we got an Australian movie, and now we're going to an Irish movie. All right, so this is like an Irish fairy tale with killer redcaps, which are basically trolls. They're like little people. You can see it in the poster. That's what the monster is. It's that. In the poster, that's the villain of the movie. A whole gang of that shit, which I wasn't expecting. I went into this movie blind. I didn't pay attention to the poster. So when that was revealed, I'm like, oh, that's what I'm watching? Oh my gosh. So, and I wasn't really too thrilled about that. Did not like where it went. Yeah, to me, this movie was a total mess. I didn't like it. Yeah, the trolls, they look ridiculous, and it's a total mess that's too serious, and every attempt at comedy fails. And you got a character who makes people call him daddy. If you don't call him daddy, he like flips the fuck out, and he beats that into the ground. So like every time he's on screen, he's like, "Call me daddy, call me daddy." I just want to slap him through the screen. And so, plus, all right. Plus, this has the most pathetic, wimpy bitch of a husband since last year's Speak No Evil. He is horrible. He never redeems himself either. There's no arc for this piece of shit. He stabs a thug and then cries while apologizing. Who does that? A guy's attacking you and your pregnant wife about to give birth any day now. You stab him and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You're a fucking pussy. Unbelievable. He leaves his 9-month pregnant wife home alone after she tells him she was nearly killed and raped so he can get drunk at the pub. Fuck this guy. He's the generic skeptic character. You know, we love those characters. You know, crazy supernatural shit's happening. They try to convince their loved ones that this is happening for real, but they're like, whatever. I'm just going to leave my pregnant wife home alone to go get drunk at the bar after she was just nearly raped and killed. So fucking stupid. The wife has too much patience with this cartoonish white trash home repair family. The father makes everyone call him daddy, and he gets mad if you don't. I already said that. The first 2 kills are off camera, but thankfully there's a little bit of gore in the third act. The movie is 10 minutes longer than needed and should have ended with the baby stolen. Everything after that was absurd, and the wife's character completely changes in an unbelievable way. The outside scenes look like a soundstage, and the sun is almost always shining bright in one corner of the frame in every scene. Like every scene, it was like the cinematography, it was lit the same way every scene, in and outdoors. Like there's always the sun in the background just going down. It's like, how many times are we going to repeat this shot? Like every shot looked the fucking same. And this movie needed to be a gory comedy and take the serious shit out. And take the serious shit that forced opening home. Yeah, all right, whatever. Yeah, the home invasion shit at the beginning, I felt that was forced to it. I just couldn't believe it. It was so stupid. I did not like this movie. Give it a 3 out of 10. Fuck this movie. Terrible. Ugh. That's all I have to say about it. Ugh. Fucking gross. All right, so top 20 of 2020. Let's get through this quickly. All right, let's see if we can do this in like 10 minutes. Swerve. Now, this is listed as 2018, but it came out in 2020. Again, I'll say it again. Say it in all my other videos. These are movies that got wide released in 2020. So if you look them up, they might say on IMDb that they're 2018, 2019, 2017. Who the fuck knows? But these movies actually got released in 2020. So The Swerve, this is more of a drama, but it has a very dark, downbeat ending that I absolutely loved. So check it out for that alone. And the performances are amazing. And who doesn't want to see a t-shirt jack off her student? That's just awesome. All right, so no, go in the wrong direction. Don't, close your eyes. All right, 2019, number 19. Jesus Christ, I'm losing my mind here. 19, Death of the Vlogger. All right, so this is a found footage movie, like a mockumentary about a YouTuber, and this was a nice surprise. This had some interesting little twists, a couple of eerie shots, and it's about an ambitious vlogger experiences the dark side of the internet when his latest video, which features an alleged haunting, goes viral. And that's all I'll say about it. Check it out if you like this kind of movie. It's definitely worth it. I think it's on Prime now. It used to be on Tubi, but now it's on Prime. The Invisible Man. I already reviewed this movie. I wasn't too big on it at the time. I was kind of a little disappointed because I was expecting a little bit more from Lee Winnell, because I loved his other movie, like Upgrade, and I was expecting like a big twist because he usually has twists in his movies. This did not have a twist at all. It is what it is, the Invisible Man. It's a guy in a suit he built to make him invisible. And they basically tell you that early on. So I kept looking for a twist, and because I didn't get one, I was a little bummed out. But on rewatch, it's a much better movie. The performances, the cinematography, I love the way it was shot. It's a great movie. Check it out. Synchronic, another sci-fi, is it horror kind of movie, like debatable, but whatever. I like this movie. It's one of my favorites from this directing team, Benson and Moorhead, who did Spring and The Endless and Resolution, which I've talked about in some of my other ranking videos. Check them out if you haven't seen them. And so yeah, this is about a movie. This is a movie where it's like a paramedic guy who, is trying to stop taking drugs, and but then he finds this drug that makes you time travel. So it's a time travel movie, and it sends you back in time. And depending on where you are, like where you're standing when you take the drug, it changes like how far back in time you go, and where you land or whatever, or maybe just how far back you go. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched it, but I really like the concept and the performances, and yeah, it's a very interesting movie. Check it out. Check all these movies out. Anthony, anything for Jackson, number 16. What's this movie about? A bereaved Satanist. A bereaved Satanist couple kidnap a pregnant woman so they can use an ancient spell book to put their dead grandson's spirit into her unborn child, but they end up summoning more than they bargained for. So it's kind of a horror comedy. There's some gnarly sequences, scene with flossing in a way that I've never seen before. Yeah, you'll know it when you see it. It's quite disturbing. Check it out. Check it all out. I need to stop saying that. Check all these movies out. They're fucking awesome. Ghost Killers versus Bloody Mary. This is another awesome, gory, like Evil Dead-ish, not zombie, demon type movie in a school. And it's kind of like those ghost hunter shows. And you got this team of ghost hunters, and they're going to this haunted school, and shit gets way more bonkers than I was expecting, and way more over the top gory than I was expecting. So if you like that kind of shit, then this movie's for you. Number 14, Alone. This is a thriller-ish. Yeah, some people will say this is a thriller, but it's like a person being kidnapped and held in a dark basement. Kind of a generic movie, but what makes this movie stand out is the performances and the character decisions by our lead. Finally, we got a smart lead character who makes almost all the right decisions, and that's important. So at no point are you like, this person's stupid, they deserve to die. You're on board, and it ends the way you want it to, or at least the way I would want it to. So the ending was good, the character was great, acting, decision making, good stuff. And Unhinged. I reviewed this movie also back in the day. Russell Crowe is playing himself basically in this movie. He's unhinged, going crazy. And this has the kid from Child's Play, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And yeah, it's a very fast paced movie. That's what I love about it. It's just boom, 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 just constantly intense, beginning to end. And it's a very simple premise. And The Empty Man. It's kind of a head scratcher of a movie. I don't remember too much about it. It's been a couple of years since I've seen it, but I remember it affecting me. And I was like, damn, I don't know exactly what the hell happened, but I enjoyed it. Cinematography, the look of the movie, it's great. I just don't remember fully understanding it. I've only seen this movie once. It's kind of like a cult movie, if I remember correctly. But yeah, this is kind of a hidden gem. Not a lot of people talk about this movie. Number 11, The Hunt. This is a controversial movie that got pushed for a year. And this was like one of the last movies that got released in 2020, right before COVID shut everything down. Like, I actually went to the theater to see this in March. It was mid-March. And me and my dad did like a double feature at the movie theater. We saw Bloodshot with Vin Diesel, and then we saw this. And then the next day, everything was shut down. But yeah, this movie, I really like that this movie seemed to be fair to both sides of the political spectrum. Like, both liberals and Republicans seem to be getting poked fun at in this one. It's the liberals hunting the Republicans in this. And, and they're making fun of both parties, both extremes, poking fun at the cliches of both people, both sides. And it's gory. So I'm all about that. Lots of violence and a badass, GI Jane. You got this female badass, Rambo type character. She's a survivalist and she kicks ass. And you got Hilary Swank, I think, right? She's the like main bad guy in this. Um, you got a fun fight sequence between her and the actress who plays the lead here. Yeah, she was just a lot of fun. I love the lead character in this movie, so she really helped make this movie what it is, and the gore. Great comedy, and the fact that to me it seemed fair. It didn't seem like one sided, like just constantly like shitting on, one side, like fuck these people. It wasn't like that to me. Um, the Possessor, top 10. Number 10, Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor. It's been a while since I've seen this, but why it's so high on my list is because of the originality of this movie. I really like the premise where instead of just having hitmen, go out and kill people, they actually have people like in some device where they can control other people to go perform a hit. So if that person, after they kill whoever, gets killed by the police, oh well, the person who actually did the crime is miles elsewhere in some machine controlling that person. And yeah, so that's all I remember about it though. But yeah, just I love that premise, and I remember it has some gory moments, a very gory like opening kill, like very bloody, like throat slit, from what I remember, and good performances, and yeah, it's Brandon Cronenberg. So if you like his recent movie Infinity Pool, you might like this movie. I prefer this one over Infinity Pool. Number 9, Love and Monsters. This is a PG-13 um, comedy, adventure, horror. It's very light on horror, but I love the characters. I love the humor, and the fact that this is PG-13 didn't hurt it in any way. I didn't care. This movie didn't need gore or scares. I just enjoyed the adventure in these characters, and the CGI monsters. They looked pretty good. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one a lot. This one was a nice surprise. Come to Daddy. Only seen this one once. It's been over 3 years since I've seen it. All I remember is that there was a little twist in the middle of the movie, and then the third act was just complete bonkers nonsense. Like it got really ridiculous towards the end. I remember, and Elijah Wood's character in this movie looks really weird. He's got this like porn stash and just this odd fashion from what I remember, and yeah. I don't remember the twist being predictable. I just remember the movie being odd. It's like uncomfortable humor, just kind of like awkward tension between the characters. Like it's basically about a guy reuniting with his dad after like not seeing him for decades, so he doesn't even know what he looks like, if I remember correctly. So that's the whole premise. Like he's just going to see his dad. Come to Daddy. That's why it's called that. So yeah, it's got a lot of humor. So expect that going in. It's not a very serious movie. Freaky, another movie that's a horror comedy from the guy who did Happy Death Day. This movie, unlike Happy Death Day, has all the gore in it. And that's what really boosted this movie. I really enjoyed this movie. I liked the homages to like Halloween, Friday the 13th in this. It takes place on Friday the 13th. You got the killer doing things similar to Michael Myers. And it's Freaky Friday with a horror twist. And I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's goofy. And it's got over the top kills, people getting cut in half, chainsaw kills. And Vince Vaughn is hilarious in this. I like his performance. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. Spree. This is another type of. Would you call this found footage? Because I think it is. Because at the end of the movie, like everything's recorded and then it got like uploaded on the internet. So yeah, this is found footage. But while you're watching the movie, it's like all a live stream, which is a little different from other found footage movies. But yeah, I like this movie because of the lead character here, the lead actor and the character, and just his performance. I thought he was really humorous, and like just how he went about like the evil shit he was doing, like it was no big deal. Like he's doing all this crazy shit just to get famous, which we've had a lot of movies do that. Like this movie is not very original, but I thought the editing, the way it was put together, and how they use all the different apps, how the live streaming thing was done, how just I gotta give kudos to the editors of movies like this because it seems like it would be hard because you gotta think about it, like all those comments that are floating up and like they have to like edit all that and write down every comment and like come up with usernames and all that shit. Like that has to be hard. Like that has to be a long process. Like all right, what do we call this user? And what's this comment gonna be? And how many views is this video gonna have? They gotta make up a number there. Like I don't know. But yeah, I just thought this movie was edited together great, and it's very funny, a lot of fun. Short movie, fast paced. You got David Arquette in it from Scream, and this guy apparently he's in Stranger Things. I've never watched it, but and he's dating. I read he's dating Micah Monroe from It Follows. Lucky bastard. VFW. This is from Joe Begos, however you say his name, who did that recent Killer Robot Santa movie. This is my favorite movie from him, definitely, and this is another one that you could argue isn't a horror movie, but it's got so much damn carnage in it and gore, and kind of a horror premise. People stuck in one location. There's a horde of drug, crazed people like wanting a fix. They're losing their minds. They want to get this drug from them, and so they're like it kind of feels like you're watching a zombie movie the way they're trying to like bang their way in there, knocking the doors down. So it kind of has a zombie movie feel in a way, because these drugged people they act like zombies. I think don't they call them zombies at one point in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, just another movie to watch if you like violence and just lots of gore, and if you like one setting films like this where people are just stuck in one room and they gotta barricade and come up with plans and build these traps like Rambo. And so this is just my kind of movie. I really enjoyed it, and I love the cast, and I love the witty banter, the dialogue between them. It's amazing. I love Stephen Lang in this. He's awesome. William Sadler, he was great. Just a fun movie. Number 4, Scare Package. This is an anthology movie, and another movie that's got a lot of humor, a lot of violence, a lot of gore, and the wraparound was actually good for once. Finally, like the story, in between all the other stories, the wraparound or the reach around, I like to call it. The wraparound was actually good. They're at a VHS store, and they're playing these tapes, and then we go into the tapes and we watch like kind of like VHS, but I liked all the stuff in between, and the stories were almost all of them good. I think there's maybe like one bad one, but I can't remember. It's been so long since I watched it. But yeah, a lot of fun. One of my favorite anthologies of late. Number 3, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Love this movie. Jim Cummings. Love everything he's done. Even Thunder Road, which isn't a horror movie. Check it out. It's a great drama comedy. And he also did The Beta Test, another kind of drama comedy. A little bit of horror in it. The opening's a horror movie, and then the rest of it's a comedy. But this is easily like top 2 werewolf movies to me. And the twist of this film, I won't give away. There's an interesting little twist to this one at the end that I did not see coming. And so I appreciate that. I always like to be surprised. So yeah, and just Jim Cummings wrote this, directed it, acted in it, triple threat. Awesome film, very hilarious, and just a very surprising ending, and just one of my favorite werewolf movies now. Rent-a-Pal. This used to be my number 1 until I watched my number 1. But yeah, for the longest time, this was my number 1. I love this film because of the premise of it. I just think it's very interesting, and it's a character study. You got this guy who rents this tape. It's set in like the early 90s, I think, or late 80s, whenever. And it just, this guy, he's a very sympathetic character, and you just feel so bad for him. And he just becomes obsessed with this tape because this tape is the only friend he has. And he's taking care of his, sick mother who's got dementia, can't even remember who the hell he is, thinks that her son is her dead husband. It's a sad movie. It's not a comedy. It's very serious. Like I said, it's a character study, and maybe a little slowish to some, But I really dug this movie. I thought it was absolutely terrific. Number one, Scare Me. I spoiled it on accident earlier. This movie was hysterical. I absolutely love the idea of this movie. Like, this movie could have easily been an anthology because of how the story goes. Like, it's people telling stories. You know, they're just sitting in a cabin. It's snowed in. They're stuck there. The power goes out. They're sitting by a fire, and these two people are authors. One of them's a struggling author, um, and the other one's doing quite well. So there's some tension between them. Because jealousy, and they're trying to like outdo each other by telling these stories. One's trying to like tell a better story than the other, and I love that instead of just cutting to like some story like an anthology, we just see them act out what they're saying. Like they're telling the story and they're acting it out, and they're even making like the sound effects and everything. I just thought that was so different and awesome. I've never seen anything like this before. So this could have easily been an anthology, but I'm so glad they didn't. And I just loved these characters, the performances, the humor. I was cracking up at this movie. The only knock, I almost gave this movie like a 10 out of 10. The only thing I did not care for was the pizza guy coming in. I thought that took it a little too far for me. Like, I just didn't believe that his character would even stick around. I just thought that was a little too much. Like, his character was a little, like, absurd. I don't know. I just didn't like his character. Just that, for some reason, just didn't work for me. I was like, eh. I was having more fun with the other two. Now this guy's thrown into the mix. I want him out. All right. I want to go back to the other two. But yeah, just freaking awesome. This one was on Shudder, I believe, but it's worth it. Definitely worth it. Watch it however you can, even if you have to pay like $5 to rent it. To me, it's definitely worth it. Check it out. Josh Rubin, he stars in it. I think he wrote it and he directed it, and he did last year's A Wounded Fawn, which I liked. Wasn't too crazy on it because of the ending, but this movie, absolutely awesome. Check it out. I said it again. Check it out. All right, 47 minutes. Shit. All right, I gotta end this. All right, so yeah, see you in my next video. I don't know what it'll be about, but I'll see you then if I do upload again. So who knows? Maybe I'll see you in 2 weeks. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Who the fuck knows? But yeah, see ya. Goodbye. Let me know what you think about my list.